The Elohim of Abraham, Yitzchak, or Yaiqab. Abba Yahweh, we just come to you now, just seeking your face, Abba Yah, trying to draw closer and closer to you, trying to come back to the Quraysh culture and language that you gave to our forefathers that set us apart. We ask that you bless us with your Ruach HaKodesh, Abba Yah, that we can be fed, that we can grow in the language and the culture to reconnect, not only with the Torah, Abba Yah, but with you, our Elohim, our power, our sustainer, our Abba. So Abba Yah, we just ask that you bless this gathering and bless the lessons. And in all things, Abba Yah, we give you thanks. Toda Rabba Abba. Bahasham Yahawadah Mashiach. Halal Yah. Aman. All right, let me share screen real quick. Really, this is more of a study than lessons. All right, we can make it lesson, but it's really more of study to kind of get you over the hurdle for things that you might be struggling with as far as the alphabet, the vowels, and the pronunciation of words as you're reading. All right. So if you want to dig deeper and deeper after I go through each section, then you just bring out what you need to be, what we need to go into deeper and deeper. Khan, Kane.
Kane.
Okay, so I want to quickly just go through this alphabet real quick. You should already know it. And the things I want to point out is in the modern, can y'all see this? Or I need to blow it up a little bit bigger.
If you can blow it up some, I can't, that will be told.
How about that?
That's good.
All right. Let me see if I can get this all on the screen. There we go. So the things I want to point out, y'all already have the alphabet. Y'all have this alphabet chart. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the alphabet, but the things I want to point out that is in the modern, and that's the format that we're going, that's the curriculum that we're going in, is into this modern Hebrew. So in the modern, there are several consonants that have two pronunciations, so to speak. All right. So the first one here is the bet. It's a bet if it has that dot in the middle. It's a vet if it doesn't have the dot. All right, and we'll get into what those dots are a little bit later. The next one down the line is kaf. Kaf. With the dot, it's a kaf, a K sound, kaf. Without the dot, it's more of a guttural. They call it a plosive. And it's more of a chaf. Chaf, chaf. You feel the plosive in the back of your throat. Chaf. Without the dot, it's chaf. And of course, we already went over the final forms. That's always going to be kaf. Well, let me just put it that way. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be kaf. All right. Sometimes this will take a vowel point. All right. But for the most part, in general, it's a kaf. All right. So you have the dot, which is a kaf. Then you have, without the dot, a chaf, chaf. And start practicing those gutturals and those what they call plosives. All right. And then you have the pay. The way I remember the pay is a point is P. Point is P. Pay, Slika. And without the point, without the dot, it's Fe. All right. Pay, Fe. And of course, the final form. And then the last one is Shin, where the dot is on the far right of the consonant, top right of the consonant. That's a Shin, S-H, Shin. Now remember, we're talking modern. And then on the far left of that same looking consonant is Sin, without the H, Sin or Seen. All right, Sin or Seen. All right, any questions? Any questions? All right. So now those that are still, do we have some I can't see who's on right now. I'm in the, but are there any, well, I'll tell you what, we're all going to go through it. That way we all get a look at it. So let's go to, and this book is the First Hebrew Primer. All right. This is kind of like our standard go-to. Sometimes I go to another just so that I can have visually everything kind of like in one spot. This First Hebrew Primer, as you'll see as we go along, it's kind of spread out. So we will talk about the A-class vowels, and then it'll go into some more Aleph Bet, and then it'll go into like the E-class vowels, and then it'll go into some more Aleph Bet, and so on and so on. So sometimes if all I want to talk about is the vowels, I'll pull up a different chart. But for the most part, we're going to use this first Hebrew primer. All right. So this is a practice. This is an exercise. This is an exercise. The way it was set up is you're supposed to identify through this line each letter that this is. I'm not going to tell you what the letter is because I want you to identify it. We're not going to run it that way. You just identify each letter on each line. And remember, we read from right to left, right to left. So who's up first? And if we're going to make this productive, we got to participate. Can somebody point out who's got the hand up?
Coach Shaquan.
Okay. Moray Samak, did you want to make any type of introduction before we continue?
No, you fine, Adon.
Khan, sleep out. Okay, Coach Shaquan, you take line 1, and all I want you to do is just identify the consonant, the letter. You don't have to give the sound. You don't have to give the numerical value. All I want is to identify what that letter is.
Okay, so that's the Y or Va, the vet or bet, the Y or Va, the Hey, the Yod, Zion, the Y Va, Yod, Y Va, Yod.
Khan, Toda, you got them all correct. All right.
All right, Francis is up next.
Nate Francis, floor is yours. Line 2.
Bet, Kaf, Vet, Hey, Kaf, Bet, Vet, Wab or Vav. Oh, wait, I said the Kaf wrong. Okay.
Hey, God, I'm glad you caught it. We're gonna go back through that. Go ahead.
Okay. Hav, Vet.
All right. So everybody saw that. She caught it kind of like at the end. This one is Chaf. Chaf. It doesn't have the dot. Chaf. And you see in line 2, this one has the dot. It's a bet, not a vet. So that's the Chaf. That's the Kaf. Chaf, Kaf. All right. Line 3.
Zamiria has a hand up.
All right. Coach Zamiria, floor is yours.
Okay. That's a cough.
We're on line 3.
Oh, that's not a cough.
Okay.
Hold on, I just went blank. That's a catch. No.
So it's a,
What do you mean?
now we want to start practicing how well, yeah, just the name of it.
Could y'all hear her at all, Zaqan?
We're hearing her. We're hearing. I can. Now I don't hear anything now. Can y'all hear me?
We can hear you. Just can't hear Zymeria.
My thing is doing. I'll wait.
We can hear you now. Just kidding.
Okay, we'll just move on. We'll let somebody else take 3, and Akoti Zamiri, when you get your sound worked out, then you'll take the next one in line. Okay. So who else is in line for line 3? I hope I'm not breaking up. Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. All right, anybody got their hand raised? Can somebody tell me who's got their hands raised? Moray, are you still on or you got dropped too?
Yes, Nathan has his hand up.
Con. All right, Aki, Nathan, the floor is yours. We're on line 3.
That's a tall.
Okay, look at it again.
I'm on lips mixed.
Say again. I didn't hear what you just said.
A tall.
It's close. It's one of those ones that are lookalikes. Okay, so we'll just call. There you go.
Cat.
There you go. Het.
A hay. Cat. Vet.
All right. Now we're
No,
gonna
vet.
go with the. There you go.
Hay. Wah. Cat. Hay. Wah. A cough.
All right. So now, just so we can stay along with the curriculum, the cough has a what?
Doesn't have a dot in the middle.
Okay. And so what's the sound of the one that doesn't have? More of a guttural. Can you do that one?
Cough.
There you go. Good. Toe job. Akoti Zamiri, your sound fixed?
Can you hear me now?
Con, we got you.
Okay.
Line 4.
A cough. A bet. A cough. A bet. I mean, not a bet. A cough. A bet. A tet. A hay.
No, go back.
What? Yeah, I can hear him.
Look at this one again. That's a confusing one. That's one of those lookalikes.
Cat.
All right.
Hay. Cough. Cough and bet.
All right. Cough,
Cough.
bet. All right. Any questions before we move on? We're going to move on to the vowels. Looks like Bet Francis, you got your hand raised. You got a question?
No, I don't have a question. I thought you would go down through the whole line.
Why, you want to try one? You want to go?
Yes.
Okay, take 5.
All right. So Aleph, Kaf, Bet or Bet. I mean,
Well, no, we're not Or now we're gonna stick with the modern.
So the dot in the middle, that's bet,
There you go.
Aleph, Gimel, Hey, Dalet, Aleph, Wav, Hey, Het.
All right. All right. Like I said, I can't see you. I guess as soon as you raise your hand, it'll pop up on my screen, but then it'll disappear. So I don't know if there's any more hands raised or not.
No, there are no more hands raised.
Okay, Khan. All right, Tob job. Now you see, we got to pay attention to those lookalikes and then those dots, right? Go back through that handy Hebrew chart. Everybody should have that handy Hebrew chart. And then we went through those consonants that have a slight different pronunciation with or without the dot. All right. Any questions before we move on? All right, Tob job. Got to keep practicing. And then, like I said, you saw how the muscles in your throat and your tongue and all that is going to have to get exercise so that it can properly pronounce these letters. All right, especially when we start putting in the coods under, the vowels under it. All right. So now we're going to go into the vowels. Quick touch on the vowels, and I want to make a correction before we go any further. I was kind of hasty, and I called that Tisri an A-class vowel. An A-class vowel. It's actually in the E class. It's in the E class, and they have hey here and A, but it's really like the A in they, T-H-E-Y, they. All right. So if you took notes and you had this, I had you put it down as an A-class vowel, make sure you go back in your notes and you change that to what they class in this modern is an E-class vowel, E-class vowel, all right? All right, so we'll go back over them again, but we're gonna go through all of them, well, not all of them, but most of them, all right? So we went over patak today, patak, and patak. That's the one line under the consonant. Whatever consonant is up there, that one line under it is a patak. And it is an A-class vowel. It's got the A as in yacht. A as in yacht. The next one is the kamatz. Just a small T under the consonant. And it's an A-class vowel, and it's more of father, father. And the further we go along, you'll see the short vowels and the long vowels. But for now, let's just deal with the simple form, all right? So you got patak, one line under the consonant, A as in yacht. You got the kamatz, it's a small T under the consonant, and it's an A class, and it makes the sound more of father, all right? Those are your two A-class vowels. Your two A-class vowels. The two E-class vowels, like I said, the sre, some say tisri, and it's the two dots under the consonant. Two dots under the consonant. And it makes the sound, they got hey here, but it's more like they, T-H-E-Y, they. All right. Then the next E is the sigil. And it's the three dots kind of like in a triangle under the consonant. And it's an E, and it makes the sound of bed, right? Then you have what they classify as an I-class vowel. And I'll show you what they mean by I-class, but that's the chirik, the chirik. And that's one dot under the consonant. It is an E-class vowel, but it makes the E as in machine. They got B here, but the E is the sound that they're emphasizing, but it's the I as in machine. That's how they classify it as an I vowel. It's more like the I in machine. Machine. All right. There is another pure I class, but we'll get into that at another lesson. So we got the A, the E, the I, and then we got the O. The true O vowel here is the holum, the holum. All right. And that's a dot over the left side, left top side of the consonant. And it makes the O sound as in row. The holum, this vowel is over top of the consonant to the left. It's holum, and it makes the O sound as in row. This is called a holum male or a holum wa, and they don't really classify it as a vowel, okay? But it also makes the same O sound. This is the pure vowel. This is the true vowel, the holum. The holum male or holum wa is not really a vowel, but when it is attached to a consonant, it makes the same O sound as the holum. All right. The vowel is holum, and it's a dot over consonant, O as in row. When it's on top of a wa connected to a consonant, it's a holum male or holum wa, and it makes the same O sound. All right, then we have the kibbutz, 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 and that's the 3 dots in a diagonal under the consonant. And this is what they call like the long O, pool, pool, pool. All right. And like I said, this is the sharuk, and also this is not technically classified as a vowel, but when connected to a consonant, it acts as a vowel. All right, and it makes the more of a U sound, like put. They got pool here, but it's more like put. All right. And we'll get into these, the chatafs. There's 3 of them. We'll get into that at another lesson. And then we'll get into the shiwa. There's 2 shiwas, and we'll get into those in another lesson. All right. Any questions before we move on to the exercise? Any questions before we move on to the exercise? Now, remember, if you wrote in your notes, my mistake, I'll take the hit on that one. The sare, I told you was an A class vowel. It's actually an E class vowel. All right.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Do the names of the vowels or the nakuds like correspond to the sound? Like when you say like bed, segol, or holum as in O, or kibbutz as in U, do they all work like that?
I think that you could use that as a good cue, but I wouldn't say that it always acts that way. And we'll see that. We'll see that the more we get into the combination vowels. All right. But in general, like you said, you could it does kind of sound like its name. Kibbutz, holum, sego, sere, you know, you could use those as good cues in a general sense. Does that answer your question?
Kane, Toda.
All right. So let's go over them one more time. The A classes, the patak, and the kamat. This is really considered an I class, but it's more like the I in machine, the kheri, cherek, the cherek. I gotta practice mine too. This is an E class. E class is the tsare, but it's more of a T-H-E-Y, they. This is your other E class, the sego, the 3 dots in like a triangle. E as in bed. And then the true O is the cholam, the cholam. O as in row. And the cholam mali or cholam wa, when it's attached to a consonant, it makes the same sound as that cholam. All right. You have the kibbutz. The kibbutz. Sleep out, give me just a second. The kibbutz, the U class, that kibbutz is the U class. So we got the A, E, the I, we got the O and the U. The kibbutz, the U class vowel. And the kibbutz is more like ruler. You see, they got pool, but it's a U class like ruler, ruler, ruler with the U. All right. Then you got the sharuk, sharuk, sharuk. And like I said, it's not really classified as a vowel. It's not really classified as a vowel, but when it's attached to the consonant, you see the wa with the dot in the middle, or the dot halfway down to the side. And it makes the oo sound also. They got pool, but it's more of a U sound like ruler. All right, makes the same sound. All right, on to the exercise. On to the exercise. Check my notes. All right. Can y'all see that? I need to blow it up a little.
If you can blow it up, it would be good for them. But you just did. That's pretty good.
All right. The same thing. If y'all remember what those sounds are. Who wants to take line 1? And I guess I need to, let me explain. When you got the 2 letters here or 3 letters, or depending on how many letters you got, if it doesn't have a nakud, then it makes just its consonantal sound. So that would be like the L here would just be the l. But this L takes on a vowel sound. So it takes its L with the vowel sound. All right, does that make sense? All right. Okay. All right, I think I saw a Koti Shaquan wanted to take line 1.
Yeah, I'll try it here.
Okay.
L.
No, let's try it again.
Okay. Oh, Lail.
There
Sorry.
you go. There you go.
Let.
There you go.
All. Lane. Lace.
Say that again.
Lace.
There you go.
They. Le. Lama.
Got it. Told job. Told job. Told job. Who wants to take line 2?
Yeah, Francis.
All right, Big Francis. Line 2.
Okay. Met, made, mace, meal, mal, mead, meg, method.
Toe job. Line 3. And I think we're going to go to line 4, and then we'll open up for question and answers. Line 3, any volunteer?
Zamiria.
All right. Koti Zamiria, line 3.
Okay. Need, nave, nell, not, nail, nays, naka.
Okay. Try that one again.
Naka.
Okay. So that would
Naka.
be more, that would be more like naha.
Naka.
Ha. Am I correct on that, Morey? All right, we'll come back to that. But it's more in the guttural. Naha. So you got it. Line 4.
Nathan has his hand up.
All right. Aki Nathan.
Sail, said, say, sock,
Say that one again.
sock,
There we go.
save,
And that's kind of a tricky one too. So you can say say or say, but it's say is more online. All right, is more correct. You had it. Keep going.
say, save,
What's this one? How you pronouncing that one?
that's a vet, save, sod, sock, saka.
Dope job. Any more hands in there? Up in the air, Maury?
Low.
All right. Dope job. And you're starting to see. You got to pay attention to those that look alike, and then what that actual vowel will cause the consonant to sound like. So it's so remember, we go consonant vowel. So the consonant, if it has a consonantal sound, it starts off with that n, need. All right. Any questions? Any questions whatsoever? Okay, I see Shaqan, Koti, floor is yours.
And just a quick question with the A class. Can you just differentiate just one more time? I know you said the patak is as in yacht and the kometz is as in father. So it's not a big difference, it's just a little slight difference in that sound of the A class.
Right. So
Okay.
so you pretty much hit it. You answered your own question. So that
Okay. Okay.
they're so similar that it's hard to to really pick out that difference. But if you listen, it's yat. Yat is the patak, and then father. They got yacht, but it really doesn't make you. It really doesn't have that slight differential in the sound. So that patak is more of a yacht, and the kamat is more of a father. Okay. Yeah. It's not that they're both are the sound. So as long as you got that right now, that's told. All right.
Toda.
Zaqan, if I can just jump in on that.
Come
It's gonna be who you ask to. That's why sometimes studying from different schools of thoughts, the way they have it on this sheet and a lot of other places, they're gonna tell you that the same sound, but then one of them can sometimes take the sound of an O. It's gonna be the placement of the letters that they follow. So when you have consonant, vowel, consonant, the placement of the patak or the komets in a word sometimes will switch the sound of it slightly based upon the letters that's being pronounced around it. But in general speaking, most people will still pronounce them as the same, where it's just the ah sound. And if we go back to our preferred dialect, we didn't use the different sounds like what they're trying to do in this modern. We would have just pretty much had the ah sound, and we would know when to shorten it based upon the placement of the word. So I just want to kind of put that out there, just to keep it from anyone from getting confused. And in most cases, they still use them as both as the same ah sound, as in yacht, or because you see yacht, but father is still ah sound. And what end up shortening them up is when we get to the shiwa and things like that, and you start seeing where the short a comes in. Just wanted to throw that in there.
Khan, Toda Moray. All right. We went through that more quickly than I thought we was. All right. So now, really, the floor is open for question and answer. Unless Moray Samak, there's something you want to bring out?
I'll let them ask their questions first.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna leave the screen share up in case I have to go somewhere to answer a question. So if you have a question or comment, just go ahead and raise your hand and we'll get at it. I'll try and answer it if I can, but I got backup.
Coach Serena has her hand up, and then Bayit Francis have their hand up next after Coach Serena.
Khan. Coach Tarina, floor is yours.
Shalom. Going back over the final form letters, I'm a little bit confused by those. It's the sound that they make. I know they or they found at the end of a word.
Okay, so for example, let's go with this cough. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, with the dot, it's a K sound.
Mm-hmm.
Cough, like kitty, cough.
Right.
Now the final form, and that's why I said 9 times out of 10, especially with this one, it's going to take the sound of the primary.
Okay.
The cough. This one does take, well, we'll get into it a little bit later, but for the most part, those final forms are going to take the same sound as the primary. So the primary they're saying here is the cough, the K sound. And
okay.
So that final form is going to be pretty much the same, cough.
Okay.
Right? And the same thing with the mem. And here it's going to be the noon. It's going to be the same N sound.
Okay.
The same M sound. It's just at the end of a word in this modern, they've changed the form. And there's a reason, but we don't need to get into that really, right? Especially at this level. It makes the same sound, and just at the end of a word, it takes on a different form. And these only. All right.
Okay. Toda.
Bayit Francis is next.
All right.
Shalom.
Francis, shalom.
Are we can we ask questions for like the cultural portion too, or Oh, okay. Are any questions of the whole lesson?
Con.
Okay, cool. Well, I have a question about the cultural portion. We learned
Okay.
about the ETs and how they should be a reminder of our commandments of Torah. I love that portion of the cultural portion. And I also appreciate when Maury Samat came in and expressed the line Zephaniah 1:8 about how about the strange apparel. And so I had a question. It was actually a conversation I had with a couple people last week about the strange apparel. And I was wondering if I can get clarification of exactly, I mean, we know tzitzits or fringes should be worn. That's a commandment. That's what we need to do. But the actual garments, what are they supposed to look like? I know in Leviticus talks about mixed blends and such, but when I look at like the clothes that we're wearing now, I'm seeing like people always, when we wear the clothes that we wear, they always think we're African, but that to me would be like strange, like from a foreign nation or what have you. That's not us, we're not African. And so is there another way in which we should be dressing to where people won't mistake us as Africans?
I'll answer that one in a couple of ways. That's a very good question. So first of all, the strange apparel covers a lot. So the strange apparel is, like you said, it's going to also be covering the fact that we should not be wearing mixed fabrics, which when we get in more of the cultural portion is going to be getting into the laws, because we need to understand these laws. So so the mixed fabrics is already a no-no inside of the Most High. That's going to be strange apparel, because our fabrics should not be mixed. So we should be trying to come away from the mixed fabric. So that can have you in a form of strange apparel, or even an unclean fabric. So such as leathers that's made from pigskin, we can't even touch those. So certain leathers, we need to know what type leather it is, or that would be a strange apparel, or we're wearing unclean apparel. So that's in one area of strange apparel. What I was bringing out quickly earlier today, when it says Norki is a word for stranger or foreigner. So we shouldn't be dressing like the foreigners, taking on their style of dress. So when you look at it, now where the lines are going to get blurred is because we're in a what we call the Western country. So in a Western country, a lot of the times when someone is looking at certain patterns that we wear, such as African, now there's some Hebrews that knock Africa or Africans because they say they're sons of Ham, and so they hate all Africans. But the reality of it is, when you look at where Israel is actually at, and the people that was in the land in that area were going to be what was commonly called Africans or of African descent, which wasn't even a word at that time. So there's going to be patterns or material or colors, all those things are not necessarily what's going to make you foreign. The foreign apparel is going to be also you dressing like them, such as in this country, everything is short, everything is tight, everything is revealing. It is not modest. So the principle of the garments, like, and I have in one of my old books from when I first came into the truth, there's a pattern of how the garments were made and what the garments look like, as far as the fringes and everything. And that I have to get a screenshot so I can share it on the screen to show you. So I can't bring it up right now. But also, it's not just the patterns of the material, but it's the style of dress. And so what happens is, when you look at the Eastern cultures, some of the Eastern cultures, as we was covering in the cultural portion, everybody that was a Hebrew was not just Israelites. There were other Hebrews. So there are other peoples that were in the Eastern countries that were Hebrews, and a lot of the language, whether it be Phoenician, a lot of the languages were still very closely related. And so a lot of the dress styles were still closely related. And the thing that would differentiate, for example, between a Hebrew Israelite and a Muslim, there is one thing really in the way that we dressed in the Eastern country that would distinguish between a Hebrew Israelite and a Muslim would be the fringes. Muslims don't wear fringes, but if you look at the way Muslim women dress, if you look at the way Muslim men dress, not here in America, but if you look at in the movies, or if you look at how they dress in the country, the long type garb, kind of like when we wear the feast days of the Shabbat service, the garments that imams make, you know, they wear that style, the tunics and things like that. They were still of the Eastern culture, so they would wear the tunics and things because they were still seed of Abraham. They were still Shemitic people. So they still dressed pretty much the same way, but there was minus certain things that we were supposed to have, such as the zits or the fringes. So it's kind of hard sometimes to be able to differentiate if we don't know the customs and the cultures of the land. I'm pretty sure Ima Shoshana and my Isha, because they've been in the land. Even I myself haven't been in the land, but still I do know enough from the research of the land and from the customs and from meeting people of the land that there are people that's in the land in Israel right now. There's Muslims as well as what's called Jews. There are the Bedouins. They're all different type people in that land, and a lot of the dress of those that are the off-grid type have a very similar dress style. The difference will be Muslims don't wear fringes, and those who are considering themselves to be of Hebrew descent does wear the fringes. So Muslim attire as well as our attire, because Muslims are Ishmaelites. They're of the seed of Abraham also. So by them being Ishmael, they're Abraham's seed, and by us being Yaiqab, we're Abraham's seed. You know, we dress a lot alike, but the commandment of wearing the tzitzit or the fringe was given specifically to Israel, and that's why we still do that custom. Even like I was sharing earlier when, not today, but in another study, when me and Abadal was in LA working and contracting, we always had our fringes on, but they called this meeting one day and we just rushed out of the hotel room, not knowing we had to be to this meeting, and we didn't really get dressed. We just threw on something and rushed to the meeting. And then a guy came up to us and said, "Oh, I thought y'all supposed to wear y'all fringes every day." And we like, "You Hebrew?" He's like, "No, I'm Muslim, but you know, I thought y'all supposed to have your fringes on every day." So this whole time he know who we are. We didn't know who he was because he wasn't in dress. But the one time we didn't have our fringes on, he called us on it, letting us know that they also understand the culture of our people. So yes, the African print, it's just because a lot of us like colors and things like that, but it doesn't have to be the African print. But having what's commonly called dashiki or African print does not make it necessarily strange apparel. The strange apparel is, like you said, the mixed fabrics, the provocative fabrics, the style, because now colors are just simply colors. You know what I'm saying? So you can wear colors, you can wear patterns. Some of our garments have the pattern. Some of our garments are plain in color. Ima does the embroidery and things like that to bring different colors and threadings out. So the strange apparel is more so those who are forsaking the cultural dress of an Hebrew Israelite, and mainly the things of the modesty, the fringes, so on and so forth. And when you get to this country, I mean, we've really totally lost our identity because we look nothing like Hebrews at all. There's nothing that make us look like Hebrews here, because not everything, and I'm not knocking anyone that does this at work, so on and so forth, but the whole way the church had us dressed with those suits and ties and shirts, not knocking anyone, but that just wasn't culturally what we do. And even the Jewish people that's in the land today, and you see some of them online, they still have that same European, because they actually are, that same European style dress while just putting the fringes on. So there's a number of things as to what would be considered strange apparel. But that was a great question. And I believe that would be a topic that I'll go into a little bit more. And I have to go back to some of my notes that I even got from Elder Herman, because he, you know, when he was going into things about beards and so on and so forth, it was just a whole lot as to how Africans look, how Egyptians look, and how Hebrews look. And so sometimes they can be very close in some areas, and then there's the thing that will give that makes the distinction as to what makes us different. So I hope that helped, and I'll try to bring some information up on that and show some pictures of the ancients. And just to note, I know just customarily, I know a lot of people want to say the head coverings. We know we've been taught that that's what Muslims do, and so women don't want to cover their heads. But even when we came from slavery, and when you look at some of the old pictures of our mothers back in ancient times when they were going to immersions and baptism of church, they looked a lot like Muslim women with their white garbs on and with their head coverings, that was just customary. They held on to those traditions that they had from the land which they came from. But over time, with the European mix, we got away from all the head coverings. We got away from the modesty. We got away from the traditional garb that the Most High called us to dress in. And going into pants and things like that, that's a whole nother topic. You know, we can cover some of that as well. But I hope that helped for the time, Akoti.
Okay, More, Toda for the explanation. It was I heard it, so it's a edification of the counsel I got earlier. So Toda, we're starting to make our garbs. We have all the fringes and everything, but I just didn't want to sew these fringes on strange apparel. You know, I wanted to make sure that when we're making it, that it's correct. And so now I can start sewing. So Toda.
Yeah, and a lot of the things that's going to be laid in idolatry, some of the things that they put on the garment. So if you are getting, you know, even myself, I wear a lot of the what's considered the dashiki patterns. There's no harm in that, but like some of the Jewish garments, I had to get rid of some of my stuff because it has the star, what they commonly call the Star of David on it, which that is not what that is. But you know, so some of those things they were almost set apart, but then they added things in the apparel that was strange to the Most High. You know what I'm saying? So those are the things I have to look for. Is there anything that have any idolatrous practices with it? But again, a lot of the African dress style, the linens and even if it's cottons, the make of their garments was still going to be a lot like the Hebrews, just as was the Muslims. So and what some people do, they just put a dashiki on and feel like they're being Hebrew again. That is not making you Hebrew just because you put a dashiki on. If you don't have your fringes and things on, but when we're in this country, what we're trying to do is get back as close as possible and as affordable as possible. Like Imam Newkirk said earlier, that all the clothes she had, I mean, she had a ton of clothes from being in the Christian walk. And so as she started converting, she had to start renewing her wardrobe. So in doing so, sometimes brothers and sisters are trying to get something that is as close to the Eastern country, the Eastern mindset, as best they can, as fast they can, to try to go back to dressing that way. But I actually mostly prefer the solids, the solid colors, and that's why, pray be to the Most High, we now have several of our imams, and Imam Ovadia and Imam Newkirk, that does actually know how to make garments to help us get back to our cultural dress. So again, the patterns in
That's how it's supposed. That's how I see it. That's exactly how I would make ours.
I thought this was like adding like to the modern type.
Nah, that's how I would make it.
You talking?
Oh, sorry, I didn't know I was unmuted.
Yeah.
My Ish was just showing me pictures of exactly. Well, I'm not gonna say exactly what you were talking about, but like the way that the Middle Easterns wear it, and I was like, yeah, that's exactly okay. Sorry, I didn't know I was unmuted.
Yeah, so and that's what a lot of us is doing, are trying to go back to that. So yeah, so the patterns doesn't matter, but yes, just having the African patterns does not make it Hebrew. But at the same token, having the African patterns does not make it non-Hebrew either, or does not make it foreign, if you understand what I'm saying. It's the style of the garment, the modesty of the garment, and also the fringes that we're commanded and things like that to have, and not trying to dress outside of the character that the Most High called us to be dressed in.
Toda More.
All praise to the Most High, Yandabar, no worries. Zaqan, the floor's back to you.
More. Toda. I'd like to just say something on that matter too. It's kind of offshoot, but like Maury said, you know, we're trying to get back to our culture, and we're in a punishment now, and we've been I think it's in Jeremiah where it says that was discontinued from thine heritage that I gave thee. You know, so if we're lucky that we have like imams that know how to make the garbs, make the garments, you know what I mean? But some don't have that luxury. Some don't have that blessing. And so they have to buy, and they're trying their best. They have to buy from somebody that's not us to try and conform to what the Most High wants us to look like. You know, so sometimes, especially in this country where we don't really own the fabrics and we don't own the making of the fabrics, unless we got somebody that, like our imams, that know how to make, and like you're starting to do, Badzion, then we have to deal with what we got and try and make it. You know, of course, we're not gonna, like Maury said, we're not gonna buy no pigskin and try and put some fringes on it. That's not what the Most High want. You know, but if we can find a shirt that's all cotton and then put the fringes on it, we're trying to get back to that culture.
And in support of what Zaqan was saying, because you know, you will hear all types of excuses as to why people are not trying to get back to the culture of dress. And some of the excuses could be, well, that's not how Hebrews dress, or that's not exactly how, well, if we've not laid eyes exactly on the ancients, then we won't exactly know everything. But the point is, there are things, and that's why when I was covering that Shavuot, the principle of the thing. So one thing that definitely sets us apart, because I have some t-shirts that Imam Newkirk and her sister, they just took just the t-shirt and they cut the fringes right into the t-shirt and put the border of blue on. And just something as simple as that, like you heard Shah Shamar saying, his brother said, give me some of them shirts like what you wear. It can actually still be, as long as it's clean material, the same shirts that someone else has. But once you put your fringes on it and you put your Hebrew markings on it, whether it be the name of the Most High, the menorah, the way you accessorize yourself with how you dress, your head covering, it makes your dress look totally different, even though it could be the same material and the same style that you brought from a store of clean material, and now take it to Imam, and once they put all them cuts at the bottom of that garment and that border blue, a person thought the shirt was totally made from someplace else. So the fringes itself definitely sets it off alone. You know what I'm saying? It sets it apart, and it identifies, and most people can tell, even to the point where there's shirts that I have, you know, because we're not trying to be over righteous. So we're trying to get back into culture. So I have some shirts that you've never seen me wear, which are button-down shirts. They're still plain button-down shirts that imams put menorahs on and put fringes on the bottom of, and it still sets me apart from everyone else because it looks like a Hebrew garb type shirt, and everyone can identify that this is different. And they look at you like, where'd you get that from? You know, like especially Goyim. Goyim always tune into the difference of how we dress versus everyone else. So these are the things, and now this is where it goes into what we covered earlier today. This is where Yah knows our heart. Yah knows that the Ruach is willing and that we are attempting to try to get back in dress code. There's some people that won't wear fringes today because they're saying, well, it wasn't this type, it wasn't that type. Well, stop making an excuse and pick which type you're gonna wear, but put them on your garment. So you would rather wear none because you feel like, well, I don't think they got it right, I don't think they got it right. But at least they're making the attempt. So you just gonna attempt nothing and make the excuse? No, that's because you don't want to put them on. A part of you have that pride that Akoti Rose was talking about earlier, the pride that won't let one accept this. And that's why we brought out the strange apparel today, because we have to embrace all that the Most High is saying. And the more we practice, like we was covering earlier, the more we practice, the more the Most High will bring our culture back to us. But we have to be sowing. And the more we sow, the more we're going to increase. The more our seamstress, the more they're making the garbs for us, the more the Most High is going to bless them with the gift and the Ruach to have the sight of what does his garbs actually look like for us to be set apart to the Most High. So I yield on that topic now as well.
Toda Maury. So the floor is still open. Like I said, we were going to come back on for about an hour and a half. We're at that hour mark now. Any questions on anything we covered as far as culture, as far back as you want to go? Any thoughts, any ideas, any comments, any questions? This is the time to do it. And this is more of a study group instead of like a classroom. So get a little bit more comfortable. We can talk about culture. We can talk about language openly and freely. It's not like a sterile classroom. This is more of a study group, you know, kind of like after class, everybody get together and go over notes, compare notes, talk about things that the teacher talked about. And so that's what we're trying to do with this coming back on for a second round, to kind of get into a little bit more and then try and help you get over whatever hurdle you might be having with the alphabet, the nakuds, the vowel points, the pronunciations and stuff like that. So even in the cultural. So like I said, we're at an hour mark now. We were planning on an hour to an hour and a half. So we still got time if anybody's got any comments, any questions over anything. Cultural language.
And while Zaqan is waiting for anyone to make statements, and so also what we're trying to do is how we used to function many years ago at True Light. We have to understand, I know for us, we love Shabbat, and so we can stay on all day, but when you're trying to bring the word forth to others to be able to hear the word, I remember there would be people that would come to visit the Knesset, but then they would feel like we just stayed in too long. And so they wouldn't come back because they felt like it's rude to walk out, because in their mentality, it's rude to leave the church before the service is over. So we can't go back there because they're too long and we don't want to be rude leaving. So we had to act, we're trying to put things back into the first portion is we're going to come together, we're going to worship, but that's going to be one that's going to be online. But this right here is kind of separate, like you said, to ourselves. So everybody sometime may not get to make all their comments during that portion, because we're trying to be done with that portion by 3:30. That's the goal, to be done with that portion by 3:30. And of course, we have little comments at the end, but any comments and things that can't be made, anything you want to express about the lessons and things, that's when we come back to this portion. And that's why we have the hour to hour and a half slot, so that we can make the other comments that we might not have had an opportunity to make early on, or ask the questions that we need to ask as well. So this is a more in-house side, but you know, True Light still has to be a true light unto to others. And so we have to get to the point of what we're receiving from the Most High, putting it out so others can receive the word of the Most High. So we're doing our service that the Most High has called us to do. So that's why sometimes you may see that I may only be able to take a few comments. I'll get the elders in. I may only be able to get a couple, based on the time where we are. Maybe I might not always be able to get everyone's comment, but coming later when we get to this portion, this is like a carryover as well. So again, if there's any other questions, you know, please ask. Coach Shaquan.
Just one quick question about the class of the vowels. So how important is that to know when I'm trying to move forward with being fluent, or even be intermediate with reading? Would that make a big difference to know the A class, the E class, the I, O, and U class vowels? Would that be like something that would change when I go forth? Because I've been reading just like the basic beginner way. So going forth with, should this help me grow in my pronunciation of the nakuds? If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. That's kind of the way where I talked to Zaqan about. Zaqan and myself, we do not really lean towards the modern Hebrew pronunciation. Okay, just putting that out there. But for the sake of, if we go to the land of Israel, if you're speaking to someone in a lot of congregations today, they're learning the modern dialect of Hebrew. We actually lean more towards the more raw, what we consider the ancient dialect. So our dialect is kind of like a broken or mixed dialect, such as the vet. I don't use vet. When I come to Abraham, I don't call him Avraham. I still call him Abraham, even when I see the vet. But for the sake of us knowing how to speak those different dialects, it is important to be able to make that sound, because there are people that are challenging us being the authentic. So they would challenge us on a whole lot of different levels. And so like Paul said, we're trying to be all things to all people. Therefore, we're studying what most people utilize, and we're teaching y'all in the reverse order of which we learned. We learned in the reverse order. We learned the ancient paleo first, and we came around to doing the modern. We're teaching y'all in reverse order to do the modern, so you already have that out the way, and you'll be able to converse with anyone that's using this modern dialect. You'll be able to converse with them. Now, as far as pronouncing the words and everything, the way you've been reading this far, Akoti, one of the main things that I will say is the Shiwa is one of the ones that when we get to it, me and Zaqan had already said we're gonna spend some time with that, because that's gonna really help you with your pronunciation, the Shiwa itself. But whether we say Holy Moly or remember the name of all that, it's not the importance of not remembering the name. It's just as long as you can identify and know the sounds that they make. Because even in English, I don't tell you I'm about to use an A-class vowel. Like, hey, I'm about to use an A-class vowel, O-class vowel, and you don't pause and break it down. So I'm saying that we're doing it in class so that you can understand what's going on, but we want you to be able to identify it and know how to utilize it when reading. Some of those vowel points and things like that they do have functions. Sometimes they're going to switch. What you're going to find is they're going to switch tense. So sometimes the vowels and the points can actually switch the tense of a word, whether it's past or present tense, future tense, you know what I'm saying? It kind of switches those things. Whether something is second person or third person, there's a whole lot of different grammar rules that we will be covering, but the way that you've already been reading, Akoti, you've been doing a great job. The only thing is, like I said, the Shiwa will help us pronounce a whole lot of words, and some of those other vowels, as Zaqan was saying, we don't know how detailed we're going to go into some of the other ones, to some of the other vowels, because the base level that you have now, you're reading well, but once you get the more understanding of the Shiwa will help you be able to pronounce some of those other words better. But in ancient times, Moshe, Masha, or Moses did not use a Nakud vowel pointing system. And the sounds that some of these words make, they didn't pronounce the words that way. And I hope that helps a little bit, Akoti. So don't stress yourself. Right now, we're gonna be staying in our basic, the intermediate stage, and we'll be bringing out some new stuff here and there, but we want you to get fluent what you already have, because I mean, when you hear me read, a lot of the times, there's certain rules that I know that I may not be able to tell you the rules just because I've been reading it so long. And you know, if you hear me pronounce the words in one of those Hebrew apps, I'll pronounce it the same way just because I know the sounds that it makes. You know what I'm saying, from study. And sometimes all those extra dots that's under certain letters, they still sometimes make almost the exact same sound, but when you see certain points, it's telling you to change something else about the word, which is way further down the road for us to get to. So yeah, so don't beat yourself up, sis. You've already been doing a great job. I think the thing that's going to throw you off is trying to add the V's in, which I myself generally hardly ever use. But like Zaqan said, for the sake that we're trying to utilize what the majority use, you know, and even when I say the majority, there's a lot of brothers that still teach modern that they don't use the vet and the vet or the vav. They use the wa and they use the bet, and that's it. But if we're using it, we know why we're using it. So to practice and to be able to speak to someone else that uses this dialect, it is good for us to know it that way. But if you notice, I don't really stop people a lot of times when they're pronouncing the bet as a bet instead of a vet. But in this class setting, we want you to be able to recognize and identify it so that when someone speaks to you in that dialect, you know, I remember many years ago, and it was kind of funny because, you know, when we say love, we say ahab or ahaba. So I remember someone said to the Mishpachah, this has been many years ago, they said ahava or something to someone, and they kind of looked like, what in the world are they talking about? You know, because they didn't recognize the V sounds. So what we want to be able to do is be able to be all things to all people. So we're trying to learn both ways or multiple ways. And at some point, me and Zaqan will share with you all our preferred pronunciation versus this book pronunciation. So I hope that helped you some, Akoti. So you've already been doing good. So don't think that you're messing up. You're already pronouncing things good. But once we get to the Shiwa and pronouncing, when is it silent? When does it shorten the letter? When does it rush a syllable? That's going to be what's going to actually help you.
Okay, Toda, yeah, that was that runs clarity. So thank you, Toda.
Can I add something to there, More?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, like I was saying in the beginning, that it's not that important to know the name of those vowel points. It's the sound that it makes. And like Maury said, you're doing great. You're doing great. And when we get to the reading, if you prefer that bet over the vet, then just use the bet instead of the vet. That doesn't make a big difference to this course. We're just teaching it this way so that you know the difference in this modern Hebrew. So don't get too concerned about the name of the vowel. The name of the vowel is not what we're really worried about. It's the pronunciation of that vowel. That's what you need to kind of concentrate on. So and I'll just echo like Maury said, you're doing great with the way you understand it already.
Toda, thank you.
All right. If there are no more questions and comments, I will let y'all know that pretty soon we're going to start throwing in vocabulary words. And believe it or not, by the time, well, this is the plan. By the time we're done with Genesis chapter 1, you won't need those nakuds. You'll already know those vocabulary words, and the nakud you won't need. Those vowel points you won't need. As a matter of fact, most of our ancestors and most of the people that even speak modern Hebrew today, they just use those vowel points kind of like as a kindergarten to middle school to high school, and eventually you don't even need those vowel points anymore because your vocabulary has grown and you already know what that word, just by looking at it, you know how to say that word. You won't need the vowel point. I know I said I was gonna, I'm just trying to, in case somebody's got some comment or even if you have, I'll just put it that way, whatever you want to discuss in this setting, like I said, is open. It's not a formal classroom type setting. So, I mean, even if you just want to make a comment or anything like that. But I know last Shabbat, I said I would try and find an image of the what they call the script. Remember, we went through the book print, the book script, the box script, and then they had the just the cursive script. And since nobody's got any questions or comments, let me see. I'm gonna show you what it looks like. Let me blow it up just a little bit. Maybe, come on. Wow, that's too big. But anyway, if you can see that, remember from right to left, this is how it would look if somebody was writing Hebrew, kind of like in cursive. Now, I don't read that, so I can't tell you what it says, but that's what the cursive script looks like. All right, that's what the cursive script looks like. And if we go back to the handy Hebrew, you see these over here on this, what's that, the first, second, third, fourth, fifth column. No, that's the script that they were using in that image I just showed you. This script right here in this column. All right.
So is there a lot of books written in script?
From what I understand, the research that I've done, this is more or less either in teaching or in like, sometimes you'll see in the Hebrew text, like a phone text, you'll see some script like that sometimes, but most of the time it's somebody taking quick notes, like notes in their notebook, or either writing a letter to somebody like a friend or something. You know, that's basically where this type of script shows up. It's more, I would say, informal. It's more informal writing of the Hebrew. So basically it's like quick notes. Sometimes you'll see it, they said sometimes you'll see it in like text in the Hebrew language, you know, like you're texting somebody, you can select that type of script. Does that answer the question?
Yes.
All right.
And I can't read that script either. I don't even waste time trying to do it because I'm focused on the biblical. So, and the question that you asked, are there many books written like that? You don't find Hebrew books, anything that's written as far as with the Torah, Tanakh, anything, it's going to be written in the modern or anything that's written in the movies or on tablets or on the walls or on stones and everything that was found. It's not even that modern script. It's the paleo of the ancient script. So we focus on reading the paleo script, the Picto script, and the modern, or what's commonly called the Assyrian script. But yeah, as far as books that we would read from, none of the biblical or the Torah Tanakh type books are written in that script version. Like I said, unless someone's making some notes or something, I can't read the cursive Hebrew myself. And I'm just to be honest with you, I'm not even trying to learn it.
God, me neither. All right, Ms. Picard, I am pleasantly surprised with the turnout. All praises to the Most High. All praises to the Most High. And myself and Maury Samaka is going to try to make this very, very profitable to us. It just, like I always encourage you, stick with it. Stick with it, and we're going to grow. You're going to see this is like the kindergarten phase. This is the hard part. But once we get a little bit past this hard part, then it's more smooth sailing. So Toda Rabah for coming back online. All praises to the Most High. Maury, you got anything to close out?
No, I'd just like to ask if you would do the closing prayer in Hebrew.
Come, Maury. In the ancient.
Yes, sir.
God. All right, we tefillah. Abba Nawa Shabbat Shemayim Kwadash Haya Shemka Yahawah Malakwatha Taba'a Ratazaka Haya Asha Baharataza Kawa Haya Ba Shemayim Natananawa Lechem Ka Yawam Wasalach Nawa Kawawath Nawa Kasalach Nawa Kawawath Yanawa Wala'a Tabayanawa Ba Nasaya Wam Abal Hawashaya Nawa Mayan Ra Kayala Nawa Hamalak Waha'ala Wahathapa Ara Wathapa Apara Wahawalamyam Aman.
That is to say, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses. We forgive those who trespass against us, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the esteem forever. Hallelujah. Amen.
Hallelujah. Amen.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
All right, Ms. Picard, Shabbat Shalom. Enjoy the rest of this